Welcome to Mindfulness Mindset. It's been a little while. This is Coach Zachariah Walker. We are brought to you by Pinnacle Professional Coaching. Life continues to ebb and flow, and we are just kind of moving along. And like I said, it's been a little while since I've done one of these. I paused this for a little bit because I wasn't certified when I first started this, and I really wanted my life coaching certification before I started doing this. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to just revamp. We're going to slow down a little bit, and then we're going to come back to center. And I got my certification, so we're going to come back. So to start, I wanted to do this thing where I talked about strength in women. So we're going to do a little bit of a series on strength in women. And I have a friend of mine here, Ashley, and we went to school together for a short period of time. Mm-hmm. More so knew people through channels and this, and then I left school. But I paid attention to Ashley, not in a creepy way, but I paid attention to Ashley as we all see people social media. And I just, for some reason, something screamed to me like there's a great story there, a great strength story, girl power, which I love, being raised by a single mom, and I love my mother and like girl power and seeing what she did. And I always try to give people a platform. So yeah, I've got Ashley here with me. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Why don't you tell us a little bit, the audience, whoever's going to watch this episode, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Ashley. I'm a 37-year-old full-time working single mom in the Columbus area. I currently work in recruiting and HR, and have my daughter full-time. She's 9, and she's awesome. A little mini me, so that's pros and cons.
Right.
Pros and cons with that.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
I think about if I were to have a mini me right now, and that's a scary thought, especially a younger version of me, to think about what I was like in yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah, I love that. But thank you again for coming. I do this. So I kind of showed you a little bit before we started recording these mindfulness cards. And this is a big mindfulness. A lot of you don't know what mindfulness is. It's just, again, being more in the present. And that's what I practice when I do coaching. So I have these mindfulness cards that I have my work colleagues do. And really anybody around my family that I know would actually accept them. Or want to partake in them. They feel like that they need a certain message. So we're going to play a little bit, and I kind of want to just hear what your mindfulness card is. So I usually take one in the morning just to kind of say what's my message of the day. So I usually do a little shuffle. I'll let you just draw if you want to cut, if you want to do with it.
All right.
We just talk about what your message is, if it gives you anything.
Okay.
And it's okay if not. I don't want anybody to ever feel pressure when they have these cards where they're like, am I supposed to feel something? If you don't, you're like, you know what, I do this. I've had people react to me like, this is something that I practice. And I'm like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Continue to do it. And that's what your message is, right?
Perfect. Yeah. So this one says, I choose to see the beauty in all things.
That's a great one.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
And this reminds me, this was a huge mindset shift for me a while ago, but I would say this rings like true for me now.
I love that. Yeah.
I'm huge on seeing the glimmers in life, if you know that
term.
Ooh,
the glimmers, yes.
Yeah, so the glimmers in life and daily gratitudes and affirmations is something that has become a huge part of my life.
I love that. Yes, they're important. I think, especially affirmations, and I work with clients on that often, where it's like, your dream, you're this. Do you have it written down anywhere? Do you have this when we talk vision boards and affirmations and this? What are you doing to see it and practice it all the time? You should be around it so you visually and feel it more often. So yes, I love that. That's great. So yeah, mine. Oh, that's deep. I can go deep with this one. I ain't gonna do that. My fears do not define me. I could go triggering with that. I'm not going to do that today on this episode. That's a lot. I could go real deep. What's cool with these cards, and I'll put the link in the episode on mindfulness.org. I have a little companion link that you can get a discount on. But they're really, really cool because if you saw the QR code, you can actually do it, and it's actually a 7-minute video around that message and what it could do for you or what it means to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very, really, really cool stuff that I started doing with them. And this is the mindfulness one. There's a self-love one too, which is that's a really, really important message that I work with clients on. So thank you for partaking. Just,
of course.
I just like to see those.
Perfect.
Let's talk about it. So
Me.
we're going to really, really open up.
Love it.
I want you to kind of explore. Tell us. I know you gave us a short little something about what
very
you.
Short.
Yeah, very short. I know you've got some hobbies that you do.
Yes.
So like, kind of tell me, like, what are you doing right now that keeps you just happy and joyful?
Yeah. So I do have my daughter full time, so my hobbies and time for those are limited, but I've gotten better over the years. So I am huge on family and friends. That was a huge thing that I made sure I made time for, especially after my divorce, when I didn't spend so much time in those areas. So spending lots of time with family, friends, huge into fitness. That was a huge journey I went through post-divorce as well. So I actually pursued and got my certification for personal training, certification for nutrition coaching, which is more for my own nerdiness to nerd out on. I did a bodybuilding show, and I'm still continuing to work with a coach and hoping to do another show later this year. So that's a huge part. I'm in the gym at least 6 days a week usually.
What drove you towards like the competing and the shows and stuff? What brought you toward that part?
So that was probably like my post-divorce journey. So I guess kind of leading into that, after my divorce, I realized at the end of my marriage I lost all sense of myself and who I was. The last couple of years of my marriage were just a hot mess express, and I really zoned out.
Not the hot mess express.
It was not cute.
We've all been through those hot messes expresses. So yeah.
Yes. So after my ex-husband left, I went through this whole shift, and usually I would go down the self-deprecating route. That was my mental history. It was very dark. And I was like, I have a daughter this time, and she was my responsibility. So I was like, I got to figure this stuff out and not let myself self-sabotage and go into a horrible hole that I would typically go into. Yeah. So you remember the movie Legally Blonde?
Of course.
Yeah, so there's a quote in there
Bend
that
and
says,
step, of course.
Yeah. So what stuck out to me, so I had this, backing up, I had a list. I decided, okay, I'm not happy. What am I going to do to turn this around? And I'd been in therapy before and gratitudes and had a few tools in my toolbox, but I came across this new idea that I'd never tried before. And so I made a list of 20 things that brought me joy. And so it was as simple as like a cup of coffee in the morning, listening to music on my drive to work, very simple things, because at the time nothing really brought me joy. So I was like, what are the simplest things that I can think of where I'm like, okay, this feels good, this feels like me. I love sushi, so that was on there. So there were like big and very small tangible things that I could do on there, but I was really struggling to build out this list of 20 things. And I remember from Legally Blonde, there was a point where when they were in court, she's just like, exercise gives you endorphins make you happy, and happy people don't want to shoot their husbands. And I just swapped that word out for happy people don't want to shoot their ex-husbands. I would never do that. But I was like, what do I do to get this anger and this whole grief thing under control? And I was like, well, I'm going to start working out again, because it did, I did enjoy it at one point. So I got myself back into the gym, did Beachbody On Demand for a while because I was embarrassed to go to the gym, with just where I was at, and then eventually got into the gym and then got into more of the weightlifting side of things. When I met my ex-boyfriend, he actually introduced me and took me on gym dates, and then he had done a bodybuilding show at one point too, and I'd never heard of bodybuilding. I didn't know anything about the world of it. So I just started, being the learner personality that I am. I went on Google and was researching all these women that were in bodybuilding, and I thought they were absolutely gorgeous. They were confident on stage, and I was like, I want to be like that. Yeah. And so I decided, I hired a coach. I started to dabble in it and ended up doing a show. But it was really during that whole prep for my bodybuilding show, I was also navigating my divorce. So it was a really good outlet for me to channel every emotion that I had in a healthier way. Yeah. So it took me a while to get there, but yeah.
Well, I'd love to. I know you mentioned about the self-sabotage and self-deprecating. What would that look like normally to you? That what were your normal things that would happen in those moments? So
if we're gonna go dark, I drank a lot. Yeah. In the last couple of years of my marriage, I was drinking a lot. Yeah. And it was not a healthy relationship. And when I I mean, I had a suicidal history back in the day, like before I was married. And so that's why I had done intensive therapy in the past, and I had a few tools in these toolbox. So when my ex chose to leave, I was like, you know, you feel a sense of shame. It was like a lot of very, very low self-esteem, because at that point I was drinking a lot. I was very self-isolated because my daughter was super young, so I didn't get to go out much. And I didn't have a lot of hobbies at the time, so I didn't have a big group of friends. And a lot of the friends that I did have were mutual friends from our marriage, so they had kind of dispersed when, you know, things. So it felt very self-isolating, and I would have wallowed in that typically.
Yeah, I can empathize with that wholly. You know, and you said a word earlier as you were kind of talking about history and stuff, and you mentioned grief as a part of that, right?
100%.
And I think that people do forget that it's a loss in some way, right? Like, and you do grieve, whether it's you grieve what you thought the relationship was going to be, right? Like you grieve in many different ways, and what the picture that was supposed to be happening is fading, right? So now you have to adjust, and there's a grief in that 100%. Can take some time to get over. And grief is a fickle thing. It comes in waves, and it ebbs and flows. It crashes just like the ocean. As a person that lost my older brother 2 years ago, it's like it's interesting, because now we're, you know, if you still have these things that you didn't know were going to be triggers every now and then, right? Like they just like, you're like, oh my gosh, like, right? So like, you're just like, okay, I didn't even know that was a word. What door was that? I thought I padlocked the shit out of that. I completely empathize with that. And relationships in general, as a, you know, when I think about like even my dating history, and I think about the people that have come and gone, and it's like, okay, I was grieving in these moments. And I never really put that next to it. So I completely empathize with that. And that's a great way to put it. So remember those things. Like, it is grief you're dealing with. So, like, deal with it how you have. But, you know, sometimes you might need some help. It happens.
All the emotions.
Right? So what would you say when you visit, as we go into, like, relationships and relationships with self and others and that, what would you say through that? What wisdom did you think that you gained as you tried to come out of that, and you found these 20 things that are, you know, that keep me going, and my favorite things? What kind of wisdom now, as you look back, and again, it's going to keep getting better, right? But as you look back into that short time that it's been, what wisdom would you kind of say that you've gained from it?
A lot of wisdom, and I'll walk through that a little bit. So the first thing I did, just to walk you through, my ex-husband, we were together for 13 years. He texted me saying he wasn't coming home. So it wasn't like we had an actual conversation, it was more a text. So in my trying to control the situation response, I Googled how to get your husband back. I didn't necessarily want him back, but I was like, okay, how can I regain control? Because it's scary. I couldn't financially support myself. I couldn't handle all the bills on my own. Like, I'd been single mommy because his job was crazy, you know, but it was just really scary, a fear of the unknown. So, I mean, through that, you know, I did take those steps. It was like that first month I was like, okay, we got to do that list of 20 things. I had to do 3 to 5 of those a day. That was how I made it. So you're not doing all 20 a day. I wish I could have sushi every day and everything, but no.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, we did. I was like, from the beginning, because I was like still not paying attention to myself. I wasn't pouring and filling my own cup. So I was pouring into my daughter an empty cup. And I was like short to get angry, very impatient. He was exhausted all the time. I was overweight then. I was like almost 200 pounds, and I'm not there at this point, but so just very unhealthy in all aspects. So I was like, okay, I'm picking 3 to 5 things a day off this list, and that eventually became a habit. You know, I'm like doing things for myself all the time now, but at the time it wasn't there. And then the gratitudes, I had not done that for a long time, and so I did gain I started doing gratitudes again, and my gratitudes were so simple. I was like, I'm grateful the sun's shining today, but that's about it. You know what I mean? Right? I started off very slow. And I didn't start feeling the change until a couple months in, doing it every single day. And I was just so desperate to not be there because I didn't want my daughter to grow up and be me. I was like, if my daughter was in my situation, would I be happy for her with how she's handling this? If not, like, what the heck am I doing to do to change it?
Yeah.
So I did the gratitudes. After that, I became a lot more intentional with things. So I developed a plan. I mean, it was messy. There were definitely times I still went out and I was like at the bar crying to some random stranger, like, oh my God.
In there.
And then I was just like, I am grateful for this stranger that listened to me vent at the bar.
Whoever sent me that stranger, thank you.
Thank you. So, I mean, it was definitely messy. It was not perfect, but I was like, it was the baby steps along the way, learning grace for myself. I was very, very angry at my ex-husband, and I knew, I'm like, okay, I have to reframe my thoughts on him.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want that to rub off on my daughter. I didn't want my feelings of her dad to rub off on her.
Yeah.
So I would actually write down gratitudes for him, and I did not like this man at this point. Yeah. But I was like, I am grateful that he gave us money for my daughter to eat this week. I'm grateful that he showed face for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, it was like very little things to like, so I wasn't so angry with him, and I just could be at like as much of a level state as possible. So yeah, a lot of wisdom in that is just like, really forgiveness is on me. I have control over that. It doesn't matter whatever the other person's doing. I mean, I also learned not everybody's your friend who thinks they're your friend. You know, I mean, our entire friend group dispersed and it sucked. Like when I would try to still be friends with them because I needed the socialization going out, it's just like looks of pity. It's just like in all of those, it's like, oh, is Ashley going to break down today? Is Ashley going to like, what is she going to do? So at that point, I was like, I had to learn boundaries. I didn't have any boundaries before.
Yeah.
So I had to like learn and just be honest with myself, like who makes me feel good? If I walk away from this interaction and I feel like shit afterward, I'm not going to continue to give that person my energy or time.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll slowly back away from these relationships.
Yep.
But if it's somebody where I come away and I'm like, okay, I'm energized, this was great, I feel like I'm heading in the right direction, you know, I would do that, hang out with those people.
Those relationships become so vital, especially as you get older. And I noticed I've had that same thing in the last, 5-ish years, if not more, where the people that I thought I was going to be friends with for a long time, and then as I went through some depressive states and obviously some grief, as I said, and all of these things, like I realized with a lot of the people being such a big empath, the reason they had me around is because they could rely on me for all of their things, but when it was time for my turn, it wouldn't be reciprocated.
Yeah.
And I started, and again, I started just kind of weaning myself off of those relationships. And again, no ill will, no intent.
Yeah.
I hope the sun keeps shining on you.
Yeah.
But I can't keep being in one-sided relationships as I get older because it's too time-consuming.
Yeah, and energy draining. It's
too much. And, I think we all have these, as we get older and we kind of like do a little bit short-sighted as far as who are on our main contact list, right? I think all of us have 5 to 10 people that, like, if you text me, I text you back immediately. And then it goes down the line. Like, if you text me, oh, shoot, I forgot to text back, but you did it in the evening as it popped up and you went through your messages. And then it goes to the next, right? Like, you just slowly go down the list. And it's like, it gets shorter and shorter of the people that you do it. And you just start to be selective of the ones that, like, okay, I've got like 3 to 5 people. Yeah. And like, these are my people that, like, I know if I'm also in a pinch, they know that I'm going to show up because that's just who I am. Yeah. But if I'm in a pinch as well, I know that they're going to go like, hey, no. Yeah. I'm actually asking you how you are. Right. Like, in that, right. It's not like how are you? I need help. Yeah, I'm asking, like, I'm going to be fine. Yeah. I need to hear that you're okay. What's going on? And that's like many people don't ask me that. Let me see, right? Like, it becomes that. And those are the great relationships. Yeah. Yeah.
And it takes time to build those. Like, because I feel like I thought I had those. I was also changing so much through this process. And a lot of the people that were around me didn't like that. They weren't changing too. As I was actually figuring out who I was and like authentically, and I wasn't just chasing a man around, like, to follow his interests and stuff. I was actually figuring out what do I like to do, and
it scares people.
Who do I stand in my authenticity and like all that. Not everybody is meant to be. I think that's a huge mistake that I used to make. It's like I thought people who were in my life were meant to all be there forever, and a lot of them are just seasonal people. So and it took me probably a good like 2 to 3 years to be basically breaking old friendships, being alone and figuring myself out, and then putting myself in new situations where I could then build new relationships with people that better aligned with who I was.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm at the point finally now where I have some good, solid, but I hear you. It's like, keep your circle small.
Keep your circle small, but it's like also have those people that, you know, and you say, I'm changing, I call it evolving, right? Yeah. I evolved quicker than some of the people around me that weren't ready to yet.
Yeah.
They haven't had whatever the trigger is to do so, the catalyst to cause the change or cause to them evolve, which sometimes that's trauma, sometimes that's higher energies, whatever that is, and that they haven't had it to go like, you know what, I should do this for me. We do, I think, you know, naturally humans are a for others type of people, most of us. There's some of those crazy ones out there that are me all of the time. But I think that's just, you get, especially in a circle, in a friend group, everyone has their roles, and when somebody all of a sudden it starts to shift what they, like what I need my role to be, okay, you're ruining our dynamic because we do this every day, we meet here every day, we just have the same conversations, we're in a nice little line, you're shaking it up too much. That it scares people, and it's like, and it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, well then I'll go be around people that are on a higher plane than I am when it comes to that, and I can have a more mature conversation about life and not just work, what alcohol, what right, like the checklist.
You're getting judged for adjusting and changing. 100%.
So single mom, girl power, awesome, a mini me, as we've discussed. Tell me what that's like. What is being a mom done for you?
Yeah, I mean, she is the reason that I'm here now, and why I've made so much growth. I would have given up on myself. Like, that was my default, I would say, mode. So she was like my entire reason as to why, because I wanted her to grow up and be confident in who she is and not feel like she has to shy away just to appease other people. And, you know, just all of these traits that I would hope for her. I was like, okay, in order to do that, I have to embody that myself, because I believe children learn by what they see. I mean, I hope she listens to me sometimes, but usually it's, you know, she's observing me, and I've seen her repeat those behaviors more that she's observed versus what I've said. So I was like, okay, how do I embody this so I can help her be the best little version of herself, whoever she's meant to be. Could be. I mean, she's definitely taught me patience. I was not a very patient person for a long time. I still have work in progress, but definitely patience. You know, she's challenged me in a lot of ways, like as far as like, getting out of my comfort zone. She's a very outgoing little girl, so we're constantly going up and talking to new people, and I think that's now a personality trait of mine. I've taught her that, I'm sure, in some ways, but it's and she's like a little mini me. She's super into makeup and all the girly things, and then has a little bit of a tomboy streak in her, so she'll still go out and like we'll play sports and stuff together too. So
love that.
Yeah, it's good. For the most part, we hang out and do a bunch of girls' nights, and then of course when we get angry, that's when it's like, oh, you're a little mini me. I don't know how we feel about this. Let's go shut ourselves in our room. We'll both take time out.
I need some time, you need some time. I love that.
So it's so fun.
I love how you spoke about the making sure you don't tarnish the relationship with father, right? Like that was big, you know, when my parents got divorced, and I think I started really appreciating it as I got older, and as I started like realizing I was going towards being coaching, because as a person that's been a salesperson and like this, I've always people come to me, they're like, I don't know what it is about you. I feel like I can tell you everything. That's been my whole life, which is why I get drained on doing customer service, because you guys don't just tell me what checking accounts you need. You tell me that you're currently going through a divorce, you hate your husband, all of that stuff, right? And I'm sitting there like, tell me more. Do you like get a tissue? I just love it. I just thrive on it. So, and I think about some of these horror stories that I've seen of parents putting the children in between them and using them for leverage. And that becomes very, very tough, where I think about it. I think about my side of it, and I'm like, you know what? My parents did a very, very good job of, like, I guarantee, thinking about how opposite my parents are, and like, I still don't even understand why they were together. But when I think about, like, how opposite they are, there was no way that they didn't fight, but I don't remember them fighting, right? You know what I mean? Like, especially after, like, I'm sure those conversations were tough on when to pick up, when to do this, when to do this, but, like, I never had to see it. I got to just go, like, oh, my dad's coming into town, right? Like, and I get to hang out with him for a weekend, and it was very much like I get to have almost like my buddy was coming in, and it created a cool understanding as I got older on why I started understanding relationships more, and understanding that sometimes the purpose of two people getting together was to have the child, and that was what it was, right? Like, you were that purpose, and that's okay. Whatever we had was creating you, and that was just where that love went. It went into you, and that's okay. And I think that was just kind of cool. Like how you said that, I was like, that is very familiar to me, because it's like that was just one of my parents. Like, again, I can understand, like I don't even know why they'd be in the same room. They met at a wedding. It's okay.
Your parents sound like me and my ex.
I
was like, we didn't have much in common, but
he was the wedding singer.
Crazy.
Yeah, he was the wedding singer. He kept forgetting the words. I thought it was cute. So, like, you had pity on my father, like, and then you're like, wait, was I an oopsie? like, you start putting things together. Like, I haven't confirmed that yet, Mom, but, like, I'm starting to put puzzle pieces together now that I'm 39. I'm just saying. But no, so what has that done now? Okay, so you've had a big instance, a relationship that has ended, at least in the way that you thought it wasn't going to at first. But, like, what does that do for relationships for you now? Like, does it get you, are you in a place where you're, like, open to dating? Are you open to this? Are you open to having someone and now more cautious? What does that look like to you?
I had a lot to learn. So my ex-husband and I got together when we were 17. So it was really, really young. It was like basically right at the, and so we were together for like 13 years. And I feel like because of that, we were almost stunted in our emotional maturity in our relationship. There was a lot of, and this isn't his fault, my fault. We just didn't get taught these things, right? And I think mental health and awareness is way bigger now than it was for our parents. So we weren't taught any of this stuff, or how to talk through relationship issues. So we were just emotionally, immature, and had a lot of resentment in that relationship. It didn't end well, obviously, because we got divorced. And so there was an affair. That's why the marriage ended. So when he chose to leave for that other woman, I went through a huge, like, shame period myself, which now looking back, other people's decisions, that's on them. Like, it doesn't mean it wasn't me. It takes two to tango. I did have to do a lot of reflection on, like, how did our relationship get here? And I know I was like, my communication skills were shit, like, because I never had to communicate my feelings and emotions. I didn't know what my feelings were half the time, because I never did the self-reflection to learn that about myself until, afterward. It was just like handling a lot of those situations. We were so young, we didn't handle them, or they came out, like, very aggressively. So I'd say, like, after that marriage ended, I did the divorce myself online. We didn't go through attorneys. We ended up getting a mediator, figure out the child stuff, because that was all new for us. And by the way, I completely agree with you. The purpose of that, because I had people like, how do you feel after a failed relationship? I was like, I don't feel like it was a failure. I got my daughter out of it. God, or whatever you believe in, knew I needed her in my life.
Yes.
1,000%.
Yes.
So that was not a failure. That was a win for me. And I intentionally stayed single for a year after he left because I had to figure out literally logistics, like where are we going to live? How am I going to afford stuff?
Adding in another human probably wouldn't have been a good idea.
I was like, what am I doing? I don't even know myself. And then I dipped my toes because I was 17. I never had to date. So I dipped my toes back into the dating pool about a year after my marriage ended. I'm like, I got to figure out how to actually like date and flirt. How do you talk to men?
Gosh, yeah.
I don't even know. And I was like, so I just went on the dating apps naturally, be like, okay, do people, like, a lot of, self-esteem issues because I was cheated on. So for me, I was like, I'm not pretty, like people are gonna like think I'm horrible, all these like horrible things. It's like, what are they gonna think of me? And then I go on these dating apps and try to figure it out and learn what I like in people, what I don't like in people, like what are my values. Like I'm like, I didn't know what I'm like, am I supposed to have values? But like now that's all clearly defined. I've learned as I've gone. Yeah. Anyway, during that stint of trying to figure out myself, I met my ex-boyfriend, and we started off slow because I was very much still in the divorce process. I was like, I'm not here. And then that ended up though turning into almost a 1.5 to 2 year long relationship. I learned a lot. My communication skills improved, but I still had like a lot of that self-worth stuff I had to figure out. And, what do I deserve in a partner? What am I really looking for in a partner and how they show up? That relationship didn't pan out because we saw our lives, going in different directions. So it was a value incompatibility thing. I took another year off to really like hone in on what are my main values that I'm looking for, what are the things I need to see in a partner, and like how I personally need somebody to show up, and can I be confident enough to communicate that, and actually know how to communicate that when it gets down to it. So I've dated, continue to date. I am actively dating, but I'm being selective. I'm not, I have limited time and I don't want to like just go on dates every night. That's exhausting. So, but yeah, I am dating and like intentionally and looking for, a partner ideally, but I'm not going to just have a boyfriend to have a boyfriend. You know what I mean?
I love that. Yeah. You have people in general, and it's both men and women that do it that are in relationships because they don't know how to be in a relationship with just themselves, right? Yeah. And that becomes like, there's a time in everyone's lives that I feel like you should take time to date yourself. Yep. And make sure that is like it's just at the forefront of everyone's thought, because I'm one thing when it comes to relationships is I don't like the whole like you complete me type of a like mantra. I used to think like that. Right? Like I did too. I was a hopeless romantic and I was like, oh, you're the puzzle to fit the rest of, like I used to think that so much, right? Yeah, right. And I'm like, as I got older and went through heartache and this and dating, I was just like, no, you know what? My circle's going to be pretty complete as much as possible, and then you're just going to add to it. Like where you're like, like I want you to be complete, and we can join the circles together. But like, I really hope you have majority of your shit together, because I'm not trying to fix you as I used to do in every relationship. Right? I used to be a fixer. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I can do that, and I love that. You said soulmates. Are you a soulmate person? No. Neither am I.
I used to be.
I used to be too.
Yeah.
And I love that people still are. Like I love that there are people that are. Right? It's a very cute idea. If you believe in love in any aspect of it, I think you should, because it does heal. Like love's a great thing, but it's like love. Right, I love love, but like I do compatibility is what I believe in, right? More so, and I think that like you can make a lot of relationships work. Yeah, you can make them right. And it's like, but are you willing to have your dial all the time at 70-30 instead of 50-50? Right. Right? And in a relationship, I think it's a constant moving dial. It has to be able to go back and forth, because there's going to be days that I'm so drained that I can't come in and I can't give you 20% because I had a really tough day. Right. But the point of a relationship is, you know what I will do though, is I can do 70 for you today. Or we both look at each other, I'm also drained. Let's just sit here. Yeah. And communicate that. And communicate that. Don't just like shut down and like push. Nope. Yeah. That was one. Then that's where people internalize it. It became one of the biggest things in my marriage, right? Where I was like, you know what, I I was really, really bad as a person that does try to help so many people. Where my depression, I wouldn't do the same things for myself. I could hear myself coaching and going like, I should probably do that myself, right? I can give great advice, but I don't take it very often, as humans do, right? And I think that's maybe why I became a coach, because it's almost like I almost needed it for myself to know, like actually listen to the wisdom that I have, right? And that was one of the biggest things where it's like, you know, I had to learn, and it is still a work in progress, where I had to learn how to vocalize my dark moments as a person that battles depression and anxiety, right? And go, I'm having a really dark day. Don't know where the trigger is, don't know what happened, but I'm overthinking, I'm over this. I feel like everyone's not really there for me. I'm just in a dark moment. And I had to start saying that out loud, because I would just say, no, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm okay. Are you? No, I'm good. I promise. I'm just tired. Right,
well, from not wanting to feel like you're a burden on other people. And it's like kind of that people pleasing aspect that you probably grew up with, like, don't want to rock the boat, want everybody to be okay.
And I think
it'd be hard
for anybody that has people that battle depression, anxiety around them, friends, family, loved ones, when they, I think the biggest fear when you are trying to deal with people that do battle that thing because you feel helpless and don't know how to, I promise you, just letting that person know that you're there is one of the biggest things. I can tell that you're not okay. When you are ready to talk, know that I'm there. Like, just having someone saying that is that, instead of like, I'm scared to because they might talk too deeply or want to get too dark or this, and it's like, no, when I talk about that smaller circle of people, having those people around you, and just be like, don't be afraid to just be like, do you need to vent? What do you need from me? Do you need to actually talk about it? Do you need me to distract you? What do you need from me? If you just go that, and sometimes like, no, just the fact that you asked me that question lets me know, and I know that I have somebody that'll actually care. That's a small thing. Like those are the big things, and that was the biggest start that I had to start understanding. That's what people were trying to do, but when you're depressed, you need people, but you shelter at the same time. It's a very like,
Well, and I think for the people that you're friends with, like they just need to know not to take that personally.
Right.
Too. It's like they don't hound the person like, what did I do? What is something wrong?
Promise it's not
like,
you.
Not you. It's me. And that's like that whole saying of like, other people's opinions of you are none of your business. That was a huge mantra I had to go through with my divorce, and when I was very isolated and rebuilding a friend group. It's like people have so many versions of me in their head.
Right.
And it's like, I have evolutionized so much since then and evolved. Like you can't think too much on it. You'll drive yourself crazy.
And it is. I think we naturally go to a place, it's that fight or flight thing where it's like, did I do something? Did I say something wrong? Or did I show up incorrectly?
I think that's the human response.
It's the human response, right?
It's what we liked.
And there is. I think there needs to be more of I know I didn't do anything, so I don't know what happened today that caused you to do this. Know that I'm here, love you, here to support and whatever you need me to do. I had on my last episode with the sports park, I talked about it. I had a really was that last week? The week before last. I had a really, really bad week. I was really dark. I had no idea what was sparking it. Everything everyone was saying I was taking personally. And I just finally said it out loud to a few of the people that I know, that I was just like, hey, I just have to say this out loud. Because, and I don't need you to do anything, but I just need to say it out loud because I need to hear myself say it. Here's what's going on. Not sure why I even have this thought process, but I also know my pattern that if I continue down this path and I stay silent about it, it'll just go down the hill faster and faster and faster. So I'm like, okay, therapist, let me get with my lady on the phone. Let me schedule a talk. And I'm like, girl, I don't even know what happened. Like what, all of that stuff, right? Like whatever. But let me take you through the week. Maybe you can hear what the trigger was. Like let me just have somebody guide through my thoughts. It just becomes very, very important. So that was the biggest thing that I do. What do you do? And I know, okay, so you've got you're working out. You got your 20 things. You got your gratitude stuff. What are you? Is that the only things that, as far as your thing,
no.
What else are you doing as far as like you're in alignment, right? As we try to find alignment from mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
What are you doing to keep pushing that forward?
So I'm a very intentional person. I no longer rely on that 20 things list. I
love that. Okay.
So much I know exactly what I need to do to make me happy today. So it's such a habit now.
Yeah.
But that was a good starting point, and I feel like a really good tool to help people who are really struggling to go back to basics. So I like to do life audits. I do them biannually. So on my birthday, which is in July, and then at the end of the year. So I have my 4 pillars of self-care that I outline, and I put it in. So I put it in a notebook. I literally write it down. So I've got the self-care for me is the emotional side, the mental side, spiritual, and then the physical side. Mm-hmm. So all of these parts of a person or me that will make me feel good. Mm-hmm. So I usually list like one big, and this is just to make sure I do a lot of visualization, like where do I see myself? If I envision future me, what does she look like? What types of friendships does she have? What is her relationship status, if that even matters? What's the house she's in? What's the job she's in? How much money is she making? Like I really picture myself, like the clothes I'm wearing, everything. And then I do the life audit to be like, okay, what are the baby steps I need to do or the goals I need to knock out in each of these categories over the next 6 months in order to take me one step closer to her. And so I do like one big goal for each. So like, I don't know, like a physical goal could be like, okay, I have a goal to, like for me now, it's like to have a really solid prep for my next bodybuilding show. And so then I'm like, okay, what are the 3 to 5 tasks I need to do each day in order to accomplish this goal? So in my box, there's the goal and then the 3 to 5 tasks I should do every day to make sure I can create these habits to get me there.
Yeah.
So I do that for each category, and then I have like 1 to 2 big goals. For like my big goal is to, compete in a bodybuilding show this year. So ultimately all these little goals will get me to that big goal. And also have a goal to like save a certain amount of money or start investing. So learning a new skill. So that's something that I've done to make myself more intentional.
I love that. I love the pillars of wellness, right? Those are some of my favorite things. That's what I actually have developed Pinnacle Professional Coaching on is pillars of wellness. Okay. But I do differently as much as I do mental health, physical health, and financial health because I have my financial background, right? Mm-hmm. And my goal for that is to have coaches that can coach within each pillar of that.
Nice.
So it's like, I'm not on the physical side, but my wife is an exercise physiologist, right? Okay. So I'm like, okay, honey, I know you don't like spotlight and all of these things and you don't like being on camera, but you want to be behind the scenes and do the physical side? I'll do all of the mental health, I promise. Yeah. And then having people that be like, no, I have financial coaches. I have people in my, I've got financial advisors. I've got all of these things. I'm a licensed banker. All of this knowledge on hey, I want to have you feel very complete in yourself on getting these pillars of wellness. So I love whatever your pillars are. Yeah. I love pillars of wellness. One of my great friends at work, Julia, who's one of the managers on the floor. Yeah. She's a yoga practitioner and teaches yoga in Grandview, and very much she's my wellness partner on the floor. We talk about mental health and energies in Buddhism and all of the stuff that's all the spirituality things. Yeah. And I love being able to do that because her 4 pillars are just different as she gets into coaching and all of these things, right? I just think it's so cool just to be like, well, what are your 4 pillars? What are your 4 pillars of wellness for yourself and the spirituality and the this and this and this? Which that'll coming up actually January 29th. We're doing a whole session on mindfulness and what it is for people. Me and Julia, that'll be actually my next interview. Nice. But yeah, I love it. I'm so happy that I knew for some odd reason you were my person to talk to first. I don't know. I honestly don't know what it was. Yeah. But I just was like, for some reason, end of last year when we initially first had the conversation where I was like, I'm thinking about doing this. Are you interested? Yeah. I had to get my own shit together. like, right? I was like, all of a sudden it was like May. And I'm like, oh my God, how we get to May? I got to get back with Ashley. And wanted to get this back going. And I knew you were going to be my person to really launch this with when it came to women's strength and going. I am going to kind of ask you one kind of final wrap-up question.
Okay,
right?
Go for it.
And I'm not going to do the breathing exercise. I'm going to add that in later, just so you know. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to actually add it in afterwards. If you were to look back on your person, self, let's say 10 years ago, what's the advice you give to self?
Don't be afraid to face yourself and who you are and everything you've gone through. I had to do a lot of personal forgiveness for myself and all the things I went through in my childhood. Was a lot of reflection there, and forgive a lot of people along the way in order for me to actually like move on.
Yeah.
I was holding myself back by like holding in all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then last.
Okay.
Daughter is 9.
She's 9.
She just turned 9.
She did.
She just turned 9. Awesome.
Yeah.
Happy late birthday. What is an advice that you would give to her right now at 9?
Oh my. Just keep being you. Unapologetically the kind. You. It's like, be mindful. And it's crazy, the stuff that they teach kids nowadays and the emotional mindfulness and stuff. I'm like, she can label stuff. It's amazing. But yeah, just as long as she is not scared to show up to be herself and be kind to other people, I just want her, my goal is to make other people feel seen, heard, and understood. And I want her to hopefully do the same, but also be herself.
I mean, that's just a great way to wrap up the show. I don't know if y'all heard that. Seen, heard, and understood. That might be the name of the episode. I love that. That was so nice. I was like, good. Absolutely. You got a good mama right there. I'm telling you right now. You got a great mama. I want to thank you again for coming today and just kind of talking about your life, talking about strengths, mental, physical health that you've gone through, and the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows of life that we all go through. I hope that we actually do this again. Actually, I mean, I feel like we could probably find another topic to talk about at some point. But I want to, we will wrap up. I want to thank everybody for listening. If you need anything, do not hesitate to reach out. Again, this is Coach Zachariah Walker with Pinnacle Professional Coaching. You can schedule a 45-minute consultation through my social media. I'm here to listen, and if it is not a great fit, because that matters when it comes to coaching, if you don't have the right coach, I will hopefully help you get someone that you fit with, because that matters. And never forget that you also matter. At the end of the day, you are the most important person in your life. Without you, you have no you. So we appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Ashley, thank you again. Much love to everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on an episode of Mindful, A Journey to Mental Wellness. For those that want to stick around, we are going to be ending this episode with a circle breathing meditation. So give yourself a few minutes and find a quiet and comfortable place where you won't be disturbed. Sit or lie down in a relaxed position. Now close your eyes gently and take a moment to settle into your space. Feel the ground or surface supporting you. Let's take a few deep breaths, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Allow your body to relax with each breath. Now we're going to begin the circle breathing. If you haven't done this before, on each inhale, we're going to do a count of 4. You will then hold your breath for another count of 4. And then you will exhale for a count of 4. There, with your lungs empty, you will count again. 2, 3, 4. Let's begin. As you breathe, imagine a circle forming with each breath. Visualize upper half of the circle being filled with light or energy. As you hold your breath, see the circle complete, glowing brightly. Now with each exhalation, visualize the lower half of the circle releasing any tension or negativity. As you hold your breath again, picture the circle being still and serene. Notice how it feels as the breath enters your lungs and leaves your lungs. Feel your chest rise. Feel your chest fall. You are worth every bit of air that comes in and out of your lungs. Let your shoulders relax. Let the tension of the week melt away. This moment is a gift. We are in the present. There's no need to think about what happened 2 minutes ago. There's no need to think about what will happen tomorrow. Right now, you are breathing. And taking in every moment. You can continue counting or simply focusing on the sensation of your breath and the visual of the circle. If your mind wanders, gently bring your focus back to the breathing and the circle. After completing your breathing cycles, take a moment to sit in the stillness. Feel the effects of the meditation in your body and mind. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Take a few moments to adjust to your surroundings before getting up. Remember, if you're still breathing, and if counting feels distracting, simply focus on the rhythm of your breath. Thank you so much for taking the time with me to breathe. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Remember, you are worth every moment that you give to yourself. You can practice this meditation daily or whenever you need to find calm and center yourself. Enjoy the peace and clarity that comes with this practice. Till we meet again, this is Coach Zachariah Walker with Pinnacle Professional Coaching, telling you are worth every moment.